Here we go. Oh, look,
Yeah,
I'm recording. Hey, everybody, I'm recording. So I'll be sure to give everyone a link or however it works. Or I'm new to Earth. Technology is difficult for me. Patricia has a green screen, which I'm impressed by. I love that. It's great. There's connecting to somebody. Somebody's actually floating off in space. That's terrifying. There's a guy named Nimkar. Hi, Nimkar. Or is that Nirnkar? It's one of the two. I have bad eyes as well. There we go. And Joena, square, 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 square. All right. So I can hear myself echoing in something. So if you hear, well, you know what? Everyone's doing fine. Everyone's here is beautiful, by the way. Just want to point that out. No ugly people in here. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. Okay. To make people laugh, both on and off stage, you're doing more or less the same thing. It requires the same things and the same rules apply. So I guess I'll start from what it requires. The first thing that you must have to make anyone laugh is their attention. That sounds simple, like that sounds common sense, right? But it is required. It's the first thing. And so if they're not listening, you got to grab their attention. I can tell you from stage and from the real world that people in America reward confidence more than they punish being inappropriate. And that is not the case everywhere in the world. But what it essentially means is if you're unsure, go big. If you don't know, like, oh, this group of people, how should I address them? The standard spiel for salespeople is to take their energy level and go a little bit above it. That's kind of the same on stage as well. If the crowd is crazy and really live and you come out really low, it sounds weird to them. People like it a little bit higher or a little bit lower, but not too much of one or the other. Meaning, if they're all quiet and you come out there, hey, everybody, they're gonna hate you. But if everyone's like, woo, and you're like, hello, everybody, they're gonna hate you. So the first thing you got to do, make sure is they got their attention. If you don't have it, you got to get it. And by the way, the easiest way to get attention in a large room is just to speak. Get silenter. Here's a here. Let's do it this way. To get the audience's attention, it depends on if they are there for you or if you are there. The difference is if you are at a show, at a club, or a theater, or any place where there is entertainment and the people who came are there for the entertainment, then this trick will always work to get people's attention. You walk out onto wherever you are performing, and either they'll get quiet after they say your name or they won't. If they don't, you just stand there and do nothing. This only works if they are there for you or if they're for the entertainment. If you do that, your stillness will always grab their attention. It always works without exception, no matter who is in the audience. But it only works if they're there for you or they're there for entertainment of some sort. Like their attention is supposed to be focused. If they are not there for you, meaning if it's you're at a bar and there's entertainment at the bar, you might be it, but the people just go there anyway. Or it's a group of friends and you're just walking up to them. They're not there for you, but you're there. Then stillness does not work. It at best makes them ignore you. At worst, it makes you seem very odd. With that, you just have to make them like you and grab their attention. And the easiest way to do that is with volume and politeness. I don't know if that's a term. Is politeness a term? Essentially, it works like this. If you want strangers to be safely known, you go into the microphone, or if you don't have a microphone, you say very loudly, hello, and then you compliment a choice. If you want to win over strangers, the easiest way to do it is to compliment a choice that they made, not how they look. That does not work. You can compliment a venue, a city, a concept for looks. You can compliment a group of people for looking good, like all of you who look so good. But you can't compliment one-on-one. So don't ever do that. So, but you can do complimenting choice. Complimenting a choice is something women, I think, do naturally, or at least culturally, they have it easier. Have you ever seen two women meet where one will see something about the other's clothing that they like and they express, hey, I like that thing you're wearing, and the other one immediately realizes that person's not a dick, they're nice people? A lot of times men don't have that kind of luxury. That is a choice. Choices always work. You can compliment someone's choice of partner. Oh, you have a nice looking boyfriend, girlfriend, or you can compliment their choice of anything. But don't compliment their own looks or it's shaky. All right. That's how you win people's attention. Once you have their attention, you have one job. Hi, Kenneth.
Hello.
Kenneth's speakers are up a little high. There we go. Hey, everybody. Sorry, Kenneth. We had to mute Kenneth. I'm getting good at this. So when they have their attention, now you need to make them like you prior to them wanting to laugh at you. It always works. Think about everyone you hate. Can they make you laugh? They can't.
Like no one.
Think of your best friends. They can.
Sadly,
to make somebody like you,
everyone hates me.
You need to do three things. You have to be confident, you have to be likable, and then you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah. What do you mean by vulnerable?
Well, I'm going to go through all three. Vulnerability essentially means you're low status. Okay, so I'll go through all three first. Confidence is easy to fake. Right? Confidence is simply stillness or direct motion. That's it. So to exude confidence, you just walk and then you stop moving. It is always, I count to 1 in your head if you have to, but it's something weird. But if you just don't move, it don't shift, don't do anything like that, that is confidence. It makes everyone go, that person's supposed to be here.
Phone, that's confidence. The
second thing is likability. Likability is the easiest of all three things to fake. It is just a smile. That's all it is. It's, hey, that's it. It's confidence, likability, and then vulnerability. Vulnerability is expressing either 1, self-deprecation, which I hate, or 2, compliments, which I love. But both self-deprecation and compliments, yeah, both do the same function. They essentially express vulnerability. They go, hi, I am going to be low status. I'm going to say something that I like about you. That's their way of paying tributes, like extending an olive branch. Human beings, when they see someone who's confident, likable, expressing vulnerability, they always like that person. And always. It is how you can trick strangers into always liking you. It's also why, look at every comedy special ever. They all do the same thing. No matter how mean they are of a comic, they're going to compliment something to express likability and self-smile. They do that because if you don't, then there's a chance the person looking at you won't be won over. They won't connect. And you need that up front. You need to do those first 3 things before you even say word 1. Because if you don't, you're relying on them, 1, just seeing you and based on their past life experience, liking you, which is too risky. It's very bad to waste your time with that. Instead, if you sense confidence, pausing, stills, good motion, likability with a smile, and then some vulnerability, which can either be deprecation, like I had a rough day today, or it can be likability with a smile, and then like, oh, hey, what a wonderful group of people. That will tell the people, all right, this guy's essentially having this, it'll give you the highest probability of them listening to your first joke. And that is everything. Because if they don't have paying attention, they can't like you. If they don't like you, they're not going to care about your joke. And if your first joke flops, it's an uphill battle. It's rough. So once you have everything, you want to make sure.
What's the matter?
I go by Doug's with all.
There we go. Love it.
So 3, 2, 3, hold that. Damn, guys.
All right. I feel like I have to mute everybody, which is gonna be a bummer, but yeah, you think so?
Do whatever you gotta do.
I don't want to. Also, I don't really know how to, but I'll figure it out.
You can ask us all to do that. Just ask us
Yeah,
to do.
hey, well, yeah, but the idea is the people who are talking too much are not, anyway. God bless the internet for existing. I'm very happy it's here.
I'm pretty sure you've been talking the whole time.
Well, yeah, I have been talking the
He's
whole
the
time.
host.
It's fine. Dang,
glad-
my microphone's really sensitive. Jeez, I paid like a
Okay,
lot
yeah.
for this webcam. I thought I was just like
Yeah,
whispering to
it's-
myself.
Can you shut people up?
I just
Shut
did.
screens off?
Yeah.
Might be something to consider.
I know. Usually you have people who are very nice, and it's a good. Well, okay. Let's make it worth your time. There are 4 parts to every joke. There's the introduction, the attitude, the setup, and the punch. Those are the 4 parts. Each one of those 4 parts has a task that it must accomplish. If it accomplishes that task, you have a chance the joke works. If it doesn't, you're dead in the water. The good thing about comedy is that it's almost like a series of checklists where everything that you want to do has serious rules that never, ever break. And so as long as you make sure you like work within that rule set, then whatever you want to express, you'll be able to express. Like comedy is not subjective. People say like it's subjective. It's not. It's objective. It has a defined set of rules that apply to everybody equally. Stand-up comedy is the art of taking those rules and expressing your voice. People want to have an emotional experience. That's why they come to entertainment.
Mhm.
We, as comedians, deliver essentially an emotional entertainment with a task, and the task is to surprise people. Everything you do is subordinate to surprise. You must surprise. Every time they laugh, you created a moment of surprise.
Mhm.
It is the only thing that matters. Now, to surprise people, they must be paying attention to you. They must like you. Once those things are done, then our currency is attention. So what you do, the first part of the joke, the introduction, is the concept. It's whatever it is you are talking about. It also is combined with the second part of a joke, which is the attitude. And I think that's the most important part of the joke. The attitude is your point of view. It is what connects your audience to whatever it is you're saying. You can talk about cheese all day long. If you don't have a point of view on it, no one's going to care. So you have to have a point of view. Here's where the world gets very easy. There's only 2 possible points of view. Things are either good or bad. That's it. Every single emotion, every single physical sensation, every single drive you can imagine distills down to good or bad. That's it. So what you want to do is make sure that whatever your joke is about, you clearly have one thing that it is about. And until you get really, really good at comedy, it's always the first sentence. The first sentence of whatever it is that you're talking about, your audience will think that is what it's about. So that means it has to be that way. Now, is that 100% true all of the time? No. There's exceptions, but they're risky. And I would be like, it would be pointless to try to learn those exceptions. You can if you want to, but if you want to learn it the best for the highest probability chance.
Basketball score.
So just simply make sure whatever that first sentence of your joke is, that's what your joke is about. If you want to talk about church, then that first sentence needs to be like, I don't go to church, or whatever it might be. Your attitude is not your words. Your attitude is your tone of voice. It is the most important thing. If a joke does not work, 99 out of 100 times, it's because the audience member did not know how you felt about it. And because they didn't know how you felt, they did not know how to feel in response to how they felt about someone like you expressing whatever it is you are expressing. It's why whenever somebody doesn't laugh at a joke, they almost always say the same thing. I don't get it. They literally don't get where you're coming from. So you have to make that with your tone of voice. Words can help, but they don't sell it. Like it's words are a complement, not a supplement. Like they'll take your clear point of view and they'll crystallize it, but if you don't have it in your tone of voice, it won't bring it to them. In fact, they'll confuse them further. Once you have a concept that you're talking about and a point of view, you should ask yourself this question, which is simply, what is this about? You might not even be the same as your premise, but you need to be able to answer whatever your joke is about in one sentence with a subject or a verb. This, if you ever have something where you're working on it and you're trying to figure out what am I trying to talk about? Like where's my point of view? What's my angle? You need to use a subject and a predicate, a full sentence. I don't know why, but when the brain can make a sentence, the brain can encapsulate what you're talking about. And then that's really your premise. The most famous part of a joke is the setup and the punch. I think most people is anyone here not familiar with the setup or a punch? When I say those, okay. A punchline is simply anything you say that gets a laugh. That is a punchline. Now, jokes have punchlines, but then they also have the punchline. The punchline is the last joke. It's like the last laugh. So, but it's used interchangeably. So any sentence that you say where they laugh, that's a punchline.
Okay.
Okay. To make punchlines work, you need to have them be a response to something. All laughter, all punchlines are a response to something, either to an emotion you feel that you don't want to deal with, so you express it out, or you see something and it's your response to it, but it's always a response. The setup is the thing that you say before the sentence that makes them laugh. That's the simplest and most direct way to think about a setup and punch. A setup is the thing that you say that makes your punchline surprising. And it's also always the sentence right before the punchline. To make somebody laugh, here's the theory part of it. May help, it may not help, but the writing part I'll be able to share with you will. You have to change values. To make somebody be surprised, essentially it's two emotional values, where you start and where you finish. And there's a turn, and the turn is when the change between that emotion to the next emotion.
Okay.
To do this, just use, it's all tone of voice, by the way. It's all tone of voice. It's 100% tone of voice.
Okay, you lost me there. Sorry. I was following you up until then. If you can reiterate or
Sure.
restate and resubmit.
Okay. So it's your tone of voice. Well, what comics do you like?
I love Cat Williams. I'm sorry.
Cat Williams is a great example. Think about Cat. You know, Cat will go from he'll say something serious and then he'll just change on a dime. His point of view. That is exactly what I'm talking about. He starts the joke always with one point of view. He's angry about something. He's annoyed about something. Something is silly.
Yeah.
And then he keeps flipping. He'll always start one place and end in another place. There's a reason we do this. The reason is it's called misdirection. So here is the way to surprise somebody is to misdirect them into thinking you're doing something else. That's the easiest way. You want to make them feel one way and then go in another way. The way that you do this is by expressing a point of view. Because whenever you express your point of view, every human being that's paying attention will either agree or disagree with whatever it is you say. And then based on how that makes them feel, they will essentially be, they'll misdirect them. When you make an audience member feel something without them being aware that you are the one that did it, then that's misdirection. To misdirect somebody, they have to have empathy for you. They have to care. Because if someone's, think of it this way. Have you ever seen a happy young child? Doesn't it like make your day? Have you ever seen like a happy adult and you just don't care whatsoever? Maybe it might even annoy you. That's what I'm talking about. One is empathy. Certain groups get it immediately. and never have to worry about it. Young people get it. Attractive people get it. Everybody else has got to win it over somehow. And also your family gets it. So to get people to, again, to care about you enough to then be misdirected by you, they've got to like you. And for them to like you, it starts in the beginning. And that's where it's confidence,
Compliment.
likability,
Yeah.
and then finally vulnerability. So let's tie it all together. I know I'm starting with the performance side, but it's probably, at the end of the day, it's probably the most important thing. It really is. So it's the same no matter where you go. If you want to have a chance for people to really listen to you, you got to be confident, you got to be likable, you got to be vulnerable. And again, confidence is always the same thing if they're there for you or if they're there for entertainment and you're part of it. And that's stillness or direct motion. Stillness is just you pause, you do no motion, you don't rock back and forth, which is a sign of insecurity for everybody. And direct motion is when you walk or do anything, but with a calmness. If you ever have stage fright or you're ever worried about stage fright and you're like, gosh, I don't know how to overcome stage fright. Here's the magical thing about stage fright. It only exists up until you're on stage. Once you're on stage, you're in it. So all you need to do is know exactly what you're going to do going on stage. Sometimes actors call it the moment before, but if you just know, well, how am I going to go on stage? And just go, all right, I'm going to walk out there. I'm going to grab the microphone stand. I'm going to take it. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to move back. I'm going to count to 1. That's all you got to do. If you just walk yourself through it, then you're in. And no matter what, pause, you hold, do nothing. That's the first. That's confidence. Likability is you smile. Look at everybody. Sam Kinison, Dice, Jesselnick. The darker the comic, the smilier and friendlier the performer. It's incongruity, but you have to do that. If you're a mean performer and you're just coming out angry, people aren't going to go with you. They just aren't. Vulnerability is the last part. It's the part most people forget to do. And vulnerability is either expressing a compliment or self-deprecation. Expressing a compliment should either be to a person directly, in which case it should be a choice that they make, not how they look. How they look will blow up in your face more often than not. You can compliment a group based on how they look. You can compliment a room or a city on how it looks. But as a person, one-to-one, compliment choices, nice glasses, something, anything about them that they've done, anything. Don't ask questions in the beginning. Sometimes if you want to point out somebody, you don't want to ask questions unless you specifically have a joke prepared for the question you just asked. That's the only way you ever do it. If you ask a question and you don't have a joke, it will blow up in your face. Guaranteed. But there's another way of doing crowd work where people usually have, hey, where are you from? What do you do? Crowd work. A better way to do it, or a safer way. You can still ask questions if you are willing to risk it, but a safe way to get the same effect is to tell people how they look. Like if you think, instead of going, hey, what do you do? I'm a doctor. Oh, great. Tell them who they remind you of. Oh, you look like a doctor. You look like this. You look like that. The easiest way to get a laugh from that is to make it the most opposite thing you can think of. So if they're little, if they're short and fat, be like, you play in the NBA, you do something tall people do, whatever. If they're old, you say they're in kindergarten. It's always the same thing. Side note, if you ever have to guess someone's age, there's only one correct age for women. No
Down.
matter 21.
That's right.
That is it. It does not matter if she's 50. Tell her she's 21. Don't matter if she's 10. Tell her she's 21 and what is she doing there? But everyone wants to be 21. And no one will be upset by it.
No.
And never guess the wrong age. Never do. I did that once. Oh my Lord. I got it wrong. And I said older than she was. And now for men, men don't seem to care as much, but 21 always works. Always. So it's just safer to do that. By the way, speaking of crowd work, again, if you're going to ask a question, have a joke prepared. Otherwise, just tell them. Gregory, is someone murdering you, Gregory? Gregory, are you trapped under a ladder?
I think
Bang a
Gregory's
few more
gone.
times. Bang if no, bang, and Gregory was dead.
Exactly.
So self-deprecation can work, by the way, but the rule really for self-deprecation, if you want to do those kind of jokes, is you get away with 2 of them, and I say wait until you get in trouble, because self-deprecating always makes people like you again. You can always, if you say something stupid or offensive, you only way to come back is not to apologize. Never apologize, but to make fun of yourself. Why not to apologize? Because then you immediately lose authority. Now, in the real world, apologize. You know, like if you say something stupid, apologize. Well, yeah, actually, you're right. Maybe. If you want them to respect you, risk it and don't. But on stage, never. Just don't do it. Unless that is your thing and somehow you're the apology person, in which case all bets are off. But it's never to your benefit. You can make them like you again by expressing vulnerability. But no one wants to see somebody go back on what they say. Also, never break character if you're in character, ever. There's nothing people hate more than seeing the truth behind something. So, and then the last thing, in terms of random things, and also never tell somebody, I'm just kidding, or this is a joke, because then they won't believe, or this is true. Because weirdly enough, it detaches them from you. You have to be believable the whole way through. The second you say something that ceases to be believable, the second you contradict yourself in terms of point of view, you will pop that illusion. You might still do okay, but you won't maintain the connection. So to write a joke, all you're doing is creating moments of surprise. There's 2 possible ways to write jokes. Only 2. You can start with an idea and try to make it funny, or you can start with a laugh and try to make it a joke. It is much, much, much easier to start with a laugh than it is to start with the idea.
Wait a minute. Can you explain that to
Sure.
the second one, as far as making taking a laugh and making it a joke? How do you do that? Or what do you mean by that? Not how.
I'm going to actually come. It would be funny if I said, I have no clue. All right, good night. So here's the thing. Every new comic, everyone who's new to comedy will sit down and they almost all write the same way. Everybody who's not a comic, I think, does the same thing. They'll go, all right, what am I going to do? I want to talk about X. And so they'll be like, my crazy family, or things that annoy me, or I love blah, 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 or isn't it crazy this thing, or I saw on the news that thing. All of those things are things. They're ideas. They're things that you think will be funny because they're like, oh yeah, I'm really annoyed by this. This is going to be something. But they're not funny immediately. You're not starting with a laugh, like, ha, ha, ha. You're starting with a good idea. And then people will go, all right, how do I feel about this? And then they'll go and they'll do the who, what, when, where, how, why, and if cycle. They'll ask themselves, who does this? Where does this happen? When does this happen? Why does this happen? If this happens, then what? Some will even do the next part, which is, who doesn't do this? Where doesn't this happen? When doesn't this happen? Why doesn't this happen? If it doesn't happen, then what? Those 10 questions, pretty much, if you cycle through any idea, you're going to land on the joke part of your joke. So when you do that, though, then you'll try to, like, all right, I want to talk about church, and then how's my point of view on it? My point of view, who goes to church? I know I don't. All right, so I don't go to church. And all right, so that's something. And then how do I feel about it? Because the third part of a joke is the attitude. I like it. So that could be something where we go that, and then you have to guess up a punchline. I know that because that's a joke I took, and it took me years to get the right punchline for it. But I knew I didn't go to church. I knew I thought it was a good thing. I also knew that people probably weren't going to agree with me when I said that, because generally people who don't go to church are either atheists or having a bad life or just things that people who go to church don't approve of, which is not the case with me. And so I realized, okay. And so here's the joke I drew. I said, like, I don't go to church. And then I was like, and I was happy about it. So I was like, I don't think God wants you to go to church either. That was my point of view on it. I was like, I don't want to go to church. I don't even think God does. Who doesn't want you to go to church? God doesn't want you to go to church. Okay. Then I was like, why wouldn't God want me to go to church? And I was like, I know, because I was thinking about my church. My priest would say, God is your friend. Jesus is your friend. I heard that so many times from the South. Jesus is my friend. And I was all right. And I've heard all the time that the church is the house of the Lord. So I was like, oh, okay. That's why I don't want to go to church. That's why God doesn't want you to go to church, because it's rude to go to your friend's house every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. That's just rude behavior. No one, if you want them to say, so, but see, I started with the thing I wanted to talk about, which was I don't go to church. That interested me. Then I cycled through all those possible questions. Who doesn't go to church? Why doesn't go to church? Why doesn't somebody go to church? When don't you go to church? When do you go to the church? And the one that really reached out at me was God not wanting me to go to church. That's why I hooked me. Now, I didn't have a punchline yet, but I had my interest. I was like, God doesn't want me to go to church. That's something interesting that no one's ever heard before. I'll try that. And then I went and I just solved that question of what could be some reason that it would work. What's one possible reason that God wouldn't want me to go to church? So that's generally, if you want to start with an idea and make it funny, the way to go about it is to just pick those concepts. They have to be clear. And then ask yourself, how do I feel about it? Is it good or is it bad? This thing that I am talking about. And then pick a side. It doesn't have to be your own point of view, but just for one side, it's going to be good. And then ask yourself, who is it good for? When is it good? Who thinks it's good? Why is it good? If it's good, what's good about it? If it's good, what happens when people don't do it? Ask yourself as many of those questions. You're not looking for that answer. You're looking for the one that inspires you to be like the most enthusiastic about it. All right? Because you're just picking up. All right, I'm going to talk about this in this manner. I can't even begin to understand that sound. So once you have that thing, your point of view on the thing you want to talk about, then you're just solving a riddle. And the easiest way to think of a punchline, if you're really trying to figure it out, is like the game The Family Feud, where whatever it is you're talking about and your attitude on it, that's that question that they have. And then, the Family Feud is where they'll have some statement like, you find these things in a closet. Mm-hmm. And then there's 5 answers. It's the top 5 answers on the board. They interview 100 people, and out of 100 people, the top 5 answers were these 5 things. Those 5 things aren't funny. Those 5 things are what people would think. You never want to ever have those top 5 answers. Owen was just murdered. Either that or Owen's like, holy shit, I get it now.
Sorry, I just had an epiphany. Sorry.
That is the right response, Owen. Everyone here.
Your show is dangerous.
I know. I'm hoping to kill somebody soon with my words. So far, the only way it's going to happen is like if I give him a stroke. But I'm going to make him laugh somehow. But here we go. So I wish I could even remember. You want to have the 5 answers that people would give are explanations. It is what you should never have for a joke. And also the reason why people watch The Family Feud is not the top 5 answers. It's the bottom 5. Comedy is the bottom 5 answers of the board. For whatever it is, like who doesn't want you to go to church? The top 5 answers won't be funny. Watch. Who doesn't go to church? Atheists, not funny. People who are dead, maybe a little kind of funny, but that's no one would say it. People who aren't religious, people who have something to do on Sundays, just any answer, any legitimate answer will never make people laugh because there's going to be no element of surprise into it. What will are the bottom 5 answers. Who wouldn't want you to go to church that it would work, but who's like the last person you would say that to? Like anyone would give it? Who's the last person you would think would want you to not go to church?
A priest.
A priest. That's a perfect. That might even be better than God. A priest. Because it's like but do you see how it's always ask yourself, there's always going to be a question you're going to ask yourself a lot while you're coming up with jokes. I find the easiest one to do is with incongruity, is to ask yourself who's the last person in any situation to do this thing, because generally it will be the answer. So once you find that thing, that concept, if it's good or bad, then you get that specific example, and then it's going to be a surprise. There are 3 ways to surprise people. That's the other thing. There's only 3 possible ways to surprise. So if you're like looking at something and you're like, I want them to laugh here, you have got to do it one of 3 ways. Way number 1 is punchline. That means a unexpected point of view or an unexpected synthesis of information. Meaning if you see something that everybody else sees, but you see it in a different way, that's a punchline. It's where you're in on it with the audience. You have a very specific and different point of view on a topic. It's generally most comedy. The second way to surprise people is through perspective. Perspective is simply when you are not in on the joke as the performer. It's like where you're just expressing yourself and you could go, what? Why are you guys laughing? Like, what's funny about this? It's essentially when it means something completely different than what you think it means.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'll do it. I can do an example for you. This is how I open my sets when I start a show. I'll walk on stage and then I will point to my hand and I'll say, hey, I write my jokes on my hands because when I was younger, I did a lot of drugs and now I have no short-term memory. So please don't judge me. When you see me look at my hands, I have to do it. And I'll pause. Then I'll look at my hands really deliberately and someone will giggle and I'll say, oh, I write my jokes on my hands. You see, when I was younger, I did a lot of drugs and I have a terrible short-term memory. So if you see me look at my hands, please don't judge me. It's just something that I have to do. Then I'll pause and then I'll look at my hand again and more people will laugh. Now, everyone gets it that I am doing this on purpose, but me, the person in the joke, doesn't. It's funny because it's funny just because it's hilarious, but it's funny because I'm not in on it. In fact, you can then I do afterwards. I'll knowingly say it, and it's always where I lose people. But it's the idea where when you make it mean one thing to you, and it means something different to the audience, that's perspective. And the third way that you can make people laugh is with tonality. And tonality is when you stretch or compress the words you're using and raise or lower the pitch of your voice or the direction or any of the actual physical aspect of the voice. It could be when you talk like this, something like that. You know, just literally that shift, that abrupt shift is enough to make people laugh. Not in this situation, but in the right situation. So no matter what, if you're trying to make people laugh, you go, all right, is there a surprise here? Yes, good. And then you ask yourself, how am I making them laugh? Is it my tone of voice? Is it my point of view? Or is it that I'm not in on it and it changes the perspective? If it's not one of those 3 things, well, you need to make it one of those 3 things. Generally, it really is. Ralphie May was this really great comic. He died a few years ago. Great.
Yeah.
He taught me a great trick. And it's like this. You can take any joke and you can double your laughs by simply pausing after the joke or making a gesture. Cat Williams does that a lot. A lot of urban comics will do that a lot. White comics sometimes do, sometimes don't. White comedians do, white comedians don't. A comic, there's a difference. A comedian and a comic, you've heard both terms. It's kind of weird to explain, but let me go through all of it. Comic and comedian are interchangeably used to mean a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. I'm a comic, I am a comedian, both, interchangeably. However, they're also used separately, meaning I am a comic versus I am a comedian. A comic is someone who stays in who's in a character the whole way through. They never break character. Because of this, they're not bound by reality. You don't have to believe them. You just have to suspend your disbelief. Rodney Dangerfield's a comic. Todd Barry's a comic. Anyone
Kaufman.
who does...
Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman is certainly a comic.
Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert was a comic. Now he's a comedian.
Yeah, he's a comedian. Yep.
Comedians are the exact opposite of comics. A comedian must be real. They must believe you. They must. You can't be joking. You can't be lying to them. They must always believe you. Success for a comedian relies on connection and believability. Success for a comic relies on punchlines. It's easier in LA and New York to be a comic. It's much easier on the road, which is everywhere else besides LA and New York, to be a comedian. The people will connect more to comedians. They'll laugh more at comics. People do not follow you because you're funny. This is the weirdest thing to realize. Being funny is a deflection. When you make someone laugh, you're deflecting something and you're going, no, it's this other thing. That is not connection. Connection is what people will follow you for. It's why the funniest comedians are not the most popular ones. Every single time I meet any comic, they'll always say, I'm from small town in America, and we have this guy who's 100 times funnier than Dane Cook. Dane Cook sucks. Or I know this other guy, and he's 1,000 times funnier than Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia sucks. He's not supposed to be the funniest. Every town in America has a guy who will melt your face. He is so funny. She is so funny. That person is obscure for a reason. They don't connect. You've got to connect. I can explain connection. By the way, here's the trick to connecting. You essentially just have to reinforce the same idea. If you're going to be the person who's upset, you got to be upset the whole way through. You can't contradict yourself. It's when you contradict emotion, that's when you cease to be believable. Comics do not have to worry about this because comics can do whatever. They just can't break character. There's a difference. Comedian can honestly, authentically, he can emote. They can talk about their day and they can actually experience and express it. Comics have got to stay in that same rhythmic cadence of a comic. So that's the difference of that. All right. So the two ways to write jokes, by the way, comics write from the beginning to the end, from the premise to the punch, mostly. Here is the easier of the two ways. If you're not sure how to write a joke, you can sit down all day long and try to write in those 4-part forms, and you have to, but it's going to be painful. And you kind of in the beginning, you want to get reinforcement that you're a funny person. Do it this way. This is the way every professional comic writes, without exception. It took me about 8 years to get there. Well, I'll share it to you right now. And it's mind-boggling. Okay. It's simply every time you laugh, you just wrote a joke. And the joke works. It does. All you have to do is recreate for that audience the experience you just had. And here's how it works. Whenever you laugh, guaranteed, right before you laughed, you had a thought. It was a verbal thought. You either thought it to yourself and then laughed, or you said it out loud and then laughed, or you said it like snarkily to somebody and then laughed. But there's always a verbal one sentence that precedes the laugh. That sentence is your punchline. Change nothing about it. You want to capture that thought exactly as you thought it, changing nothing. To do this, you must record it. You cannot write it. You will need to write it. You'll need to write eventually, but in the beginning, you cannot write down what you find funny about something. That tickle can only be expressed through your tone of voice. And it only lasts for about 10 seconds at the longest. After
what do you
that,
mean by tone of voice? I'm sorry. You said that tickle is in the tone of voice?
Let me think of it this way. When something makes you laugh out loud, you find it funny for a brief little amount of time. And then you stop finding it funny. It's why you can't hear the same joke over and over and over and over and over, because there's something that disappears after you resolve that tension through a surprising resolution. That's what a laugh, that's punchline is, surprising resolution. So that laugh goes pop like a light bulb flash, and for 10 seconds you're finding it hilarious. Okay. And then, by the way, it's also why, have you ever heard a joke and then you wanted to tell it to somebody else and you couldn't, and you're like, there's something missing. Oh, you had to be there.
Yeah.
It's because you lost that thing that what you found funny. You can't capture it any other way but recording it.
Really?
Yeah. Now here's the thing about humans. We have perfect sense memory if we captured it during those first 10 seconds. If you record it in those first 10 seconds, you will keep it. And whenever you play it back, you'll go, oh, yeah. And you can recreate it again. But if you don't, I like to tell people for every second you wait, that's a year of acting training you're going to need to be able to recreate what you just felt. So if you wait 10 seconds to write something down, you better have been acting for about 10 years because you're essentially just going from the memory of what you found funny.
Okay.
As a new performer, and by that I mean anyone with less than 10 years in is a new performer. Don't handicap yourself like that. Capture it in its first 10 seconds, which means, by the way, when something makes you laugh, you have got to dip out of whatever conversation you're in. And what I do is I have on my phone, I go boop to my front page. I have a widget that records. I tap it and I go. You need it on the front page of your phone because that's the only way you'll get to it quick enough. If you're scrolling through it, it won't work. If you have an iPhone, you should use a shortcut that opens an app and start recording, or just get an app that has that widget, either one. Okay. That thought that you had that made you laugh, that you're changing nothing about, that is your punchline. The thing that occurred that directly led to you thinking that thought,
Good Lord.
that's your setup. Change nothing about that as well. Just tell the facts. Like I saw a sign recently. It's like, I saw this sign. I was in Koreatown, Los Angeles, Koreatown. And I saw this sign on this Korean grocery store in English. And it made me laugh. And when I saw it, the sign said, no dogs allowed except seeing eye dogs. And that's where I laughed because I was like, that's a sign for blind people. Like who do they think blind people are going to read that? It's like, why did you make that sign? It's the only English sign that doesn't work. And I was like, then the joke, like if I went to a store, like, attention deaf people. Hello, deaf people. Everything is free. Free if you are deaf. Can you hear this? I'm sorry, not for you. Midget shoes, top shelf, dangling from a balloon. Midget shoes, which might be an offensive term now. I don't know. So the idea is that's the thing. But the thing that made me funny was who's supposed to read that? Blind people. That was the thought I had. And then all I had to do was just tell what I had that led me to that thought. Now that doesn't, at that point, if it's that you're either done or you have to add a little bit more context so people can get on board. The further away you get from a commonly held point of view, the more premise you're going to need.
You're going to have, yeah.
And the premise is your intro and your action. It's the thing you're talking about, and it's your point of view on it. It's the concept. If it's necessary, you mean the concept. If you don't know what the premise of a joke is, you can always get the premise of a joke by saying, I think this is funny because, and then whatever you say right after that, that is really the premise of your joke. So for me, I think this is funny because they have in Koreatown, no store has anything in English. And then finally, the one store that I saw that did had the only meaningless sign you could have. So that was, it's like no matter how hard you try, things aren't going to work out. It's ridiculous. I'm judging it a little bit. That's really what that joke is about. Now, if you hear the joke, I'm saying it's a bad thing because it's like, it's ridiculous that the store did not have the sign in English that they picked was the dumbest one possible. They should have done a little bit of due diligence, but it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing. I found it very humorous. So that my attitude on this is it's great. Do you see what the difference is? Your attitude is how what you're talking about makes you feel. The thing itself can be bad or good. It's about how you feel about it. Every one of us has gone through a situation that was unpleasant, but later on, we love talking about because it's like we paid our dues. Or have you ever run into somebody who's in the same horrific experience you're in, and you just can't stop laughing? Remember Dave? He had a chainsaw. That was terrifying, right? We all thought we were gonna die, and then he passed out drunk. Oh, Dad, stuff like that. It's like, oh well, you're laughing. It's that's the thing. It's how you make you feel. So just remember that the concept you're talking about is one thing, how it makes you feel is the other, and then the specific examples, your setup, and then your punchline is that thought. So that is the easiest way on earth. This is all you got to do. If you want to write jokes, walk around with your cell phone on, with an app that lets you tap and you can record. We laugh so many times during the day, but we mostly don't think about it. The difference between a comedian and a regular person is when a regular person laughs, they go, oh, that was funny, and it's gone. A comedian will go, that's funny, and grab it and keep it. That's all we do. You are as funny right now as you'll ever need to be. The thing that's going to be the difference between like a pro comic and a new comic, it's not that they became funnier. Funnier is not this, you don't become funnier. You just get better at clearly expressing why something makes you funny, and you remove all the things that stop you from being understood. In the beginning.
Wait a minute, back up and say that again. You remove all the things that.
What do you mean about the things that stop you from being understood, or the?
Yeah, that line. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure to go through it. So, but just remember this: right now, as you are right this current second, you're as good as you'll be if you have an HBO special.
Okay.
The only difference is that now you don't know what you're doing wrong, and you don't know how to do it right. Now, but you can learn them all. They're all those things are specific, and they're all objective and functional. I'll give you some examples. Confidence. You can't be unconfident on stage. You just can't be and expect them to like you unless you're faking it and you're a nervous character. You must have confidence. Confidence is one of those things that until you have it, how do you gain it? Stillness and direct motion. You can fake it. And that's what you have to do. So if you're nervous, you just keep still. That's one thing you'll learn just over time. Also, your cadence. When you speak on stage, it must be in a very specific and controlled cadence. What makes a new performer and an amateur public speaker sound like a new performer and an amateur public speaker, and what makes a professional public speaker and a professional comic or whatever, or actor sound like a pro, it is the gap in between the consonants and consonants and the vowels. Yeah, those things. Essentially, it's the gap between your words. That's what does it. Not the gap in between sentences, the gap in between your words. There's a very easy exercise that you can do to fix that so that you don't have to worry about it. Here's what you do. Get a metronome app. They're free. You can go online, get a metronome app. They'll just click a beat at a certain amount of time, like quarter note equals 120. Boop, 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 boop. It'll just beep evenly. And then here's a simple exercise. It works, it works, it works, it works. Count to 10 2 times without pausing in evenly spaced syllables. This exercise will train your tongue to speak clearly. What I mean is that you'll do this. You'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 is a diphthong. It's not usually said evenly. It's not usually 7. It's 7. So you have to make sure to go 7. The reason you do this is because the second time through, you're going to be using different parts of your tongue for each one of those consonants that you're speaking. It's going to train your tongue to get out of the way. So all you ever have to do to really work on your any kind of script that you're doing or your set, you take it and you run it in evenly spaced syllables. I don't go to church. I don't think God wants you to go to church. Think about like literally that clear. It's going to sound weird, But what you're looking for is when does your tongue get tripped up? Because every time your tongue gets tripped up, that's where you gotta say it through. Once you say it through, you'll be able to express it. Because in the moment when you're not thinking about it, that's where you'll trip up on stage, and suddenly you will not be yourself. By the way, the reason that happens most of the time is because you sat down and you took an idea and tried to make it funny. And when you did that, you came up with words and thought processes that you don't usually have. We speak more or less the same way after a certain age. We have the same words that we use them in the same combinations. We string those combinations together to form ideas. But when we write, we don't use that same patterns that we have from our speaking. So frequently you'll put together phrases that you don't say in the real world usually. And because of that, it'll literally trip your tongue up, and you'll be like, oh, and it'll annoy you because in your head, you'll know exactly what you mean to say, but your tongue got in the way. And the way to get rid of that is just the evenly spaced syllables. It's just something always you should try. And then I can't even remember why I don't even remember why I got to that part. Oh yeah, to be clearly, there's like two examples: the evenly spaced syllables and the stillness that professionals do that newer people muddy up the waters. The best way to get rid of what considered those beginner problems, besides doing the evenly spaced syllables genius tip that they gave you, is to take acting classes. Acting classes, acting classes, acting classes, acting classes. Should I pay for a comedy class or should I pay for an acting class? Comedy teacher, acting class, acting class, acting class, acting class, acting class. It is important because until you get rid of those things that distract people, you're not really going to be getting an honest read on your material. And it's unfortunate that the only way to really get better at comedy is to tell jokes to people. It's really pretty much it. Because, and by the way, we learn through failure. So don't worry about bombing. Has anyone here bombed on stage before? Anyone? I bombed.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not that bad, right?
No, it's horrible. Don't lie.
Oh.
How about this way? When you bomb, is it as bad as what you imagined bombing to be like?
No, really.
Yeah, no.
I was just there.
Not really.
It's not pleasant.
It's
not-
bad upon reflecting on it, but during it, it's kind of exciting.
It is. You panic,
I don't know about
which is great.
exciting. Your
Bombing, by the way,
palms sweating, your armpits start sweating, you lose your voice, you forget your jokes. It's not fun. I don't think
Yeah.
it's fun.
it's,
I would
but here's the
not.
thing is, what you're feeling, by the way, what you're feeling is just adrenaline. That is the same feeling you'll get when you're enthusiastic about a gigantic show. When you do your special on TV, you'll feel that exact feeling, except you'll know what it means and you won't be, and you'll be like, this is awesome. Nerves are the best thing in the world. Bombing and anxiety is the best thing you can ever do, pound for pound on stage, because when you are free falling, I call it when bombing is like jumping out of a plane. When you're free falling, you're swinging at anything. And that is generally when you'll find something spectacular, because what you'll be doing what you do when you think of something funny and you laugh and then write a joke. Your brain will go, all right, firing at 1,000 seconds. It won't care about the ideas. It'll just say, I need something. What I had doesn't work, anything. And you won't limit yourself to reality. You won't limit yourself to whatever your preconceived beliefs are. You won't limit yourself to what you find appropriate, stupid, or bad, or whatever. You'll just try to save yourself. And that is generally when you'll find something amazing. When you bomb enough times that it ceases to be an issue, and unfortunately I have, it is awesome. Because then it gives you this hyper sense of the flow. It's a flow state. Like, like you ever heard of flow states? Athletes get into a flow state. It's when
In the zone.
when the hoop becomes big.
And they're in the zone.
The zone, exactly.
Yeah.
That is when you're free falling and you're bombing, you're super in the zone. You're just not quite yet aware of it. But that's all you got to do. Well, what worked for me was something I really wouldn't recommend. How I got over bombing was the very first show I did, I bombed. I mean, I bombed so badly, I quit for 3 years. I was like, I guess
Wow.
this is not what I do. Yeah. Oh, it was terrible. No one laughed, not one laugh. Then someone in the audience, I remember, dropped a glass and it shattered, and someone else went, ah! That was how tense it was. Like there was no feeling. And I left the stage thinking, oh, I guess I'm just not funny. I thought I was a funny person, and I just quit. I couldn't do it. And then I came back years later, and I had no fear because I got that bomb out of the way. Once you get a bad bomb, you should love that moment because you'll never worry about it again. It's like an inoculation. Has anyone here gotten their inoculation yet? Their vaccine? Anyone?
Have you?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Because
Well done.
I'm here in Los Angeles, and in Los Angeles, they have a program at all these clinics where you can simply wait. And if the people with appointments don't show up at 4 p.m., if you're in line,
Here
they'll
you
give
go.
it to you. And so yesterday, I got my shot, and I was like, all right, this is good. Now,
How long did you wait?
I waited for 4 hours, which wasn't
Wow.
that bad. That wasn't bad. I got lucky. My brother was earlier in the line. He waited for 9 hours. And so generally it was just that for some reason people were signing up and then just not showing up, which is crazy to me. Because I think either you don't want the vaccine, in which case why sign up? But if you want the vaccine, like why not show up? That's either here or there.
I can actually debate that, and I'm not going there. That's not a good way to go.
Yeah, but it's by the way, by the way, that's a topic that I'll be spinning in my head trying to figure that out. I've been here's how I develop the jokes. Here's how to do it. We'll demonstrate it with the so the topic will be vaccines. All right?
Did you hear any good jokes while you were in line?
No. That's
4 hours. Come on.
Telling me good jokes while he's in
nobody.
line.
I just had my headphones on and I was just listening to things, and whenever people would look at me, I go, and they go, oh, that's a weird person, and I go, yeah, I'm weird. It was great. I have terrible shyness. I'm an incredible introvert. Most comics are, by the way.
Yeah.
Most comics, like Daniel Tosh and Eliza Schlesinger, are very outgoing on stage, and they're two of the most sensitive, sweetest, quietest people you'll ever meet in your life. And that's the two examples I like to use because everyone seems to know them, but you don't have to be this big bombastic personality to be a stand-up comedian. The only requirement is intelligence. I think the ability to be specific. That is the most important thing. That's really all you're doing. If you can be specific, you can be funny. Let's try the idea. So the topic is vaccines. Now, using the method, I go, who takes vaccines? Old people, people who don't want to get sick. Who doesn't want vaccines? Republicans. Who else?
I was going to say Donald Trump. Yeah.
Donald Trump.
There you go.
So yeah, there you go. So
No, that's not a good. I'm not feeling that. I'm sorry. I'm not
oh,
vibing.
there's no good or bad ideas right now. In the beginning,
Exactly.
brainstorm.
It's out there.
Now, but hold on. Here's a good thing. This is something always to be aware of. You cannot count on your audience having your point of view. You cannot. You can gauge it a little bit, but you can't count on it. A lot of people who are very, very, very one way look very, very the other. So, but at the same time, if you want to express your point of view, you can't rely on them. You can't be afraid of someone not having it. So then it's like, well, how do I express my point of view in a way that allows them to laugh? Because if you say something to a Republican like, I think Trump was, a dishonest scumbag. If you say to people, Trump had some really good qualities that I really appreciated. Both people won't, because they're like, it's so visceral. There's a way to get around it. It's 2 words. To me. If you have to me, if you are trying to make a point of view that like abortion, if you have a point of view on abortion, some people are going to agree, some people are not going to agree. You cannot let them hop in. It'll really. But if you go to me, for me, I feel this way about abortion. That takes them out of it.
Okay.
If you need to also do something very contentious, and there's going to be certain objections. Like, I'll give you an example. I talk about women a lot, and I say, one of my big jokes is I talk about how I believe you should sleep with the guy on the first date at the latest. Right? So immediately, right? Immediately, every woman's like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Minutes.
You have no reason to say it. I don't like you. You look stupid. Like it's all I know where it's going. And I do that on purpose. I'm aware of how they're gonna feel, but I got their attention. And then all you have to do, if someone's got a point of view that you don't want them to interrupt you on, you have got to give it lip service. You've got to acknowledge it. Like, hey, I understand most women probably think you probably don't want to sleep with them on the first date. You know, milk in the cow. If you give him the milk, you know, it's like if you just give it to him right now, whatever, he's not going to respect you. If you just sleep with him, that's all he wants. That's a bad thing for a woman. You need to get in. By the way, if you're doing that, you've got to do it honestly. Like you can't mock them. You can't be like, oh, you think this. You have got to actually say how they feel in a way that they'll agree is honest. You have to represent them. When you do that, you diffuse objections. You have got to, I call it look for roadside bombs. With whatever you're talking about, identify any place anyone could become offended. And then if you feel it's likely to happen, give it some airplay. Acknowledge it, honestly. Because then a person will feel heard. Like if you tell a Republican, Trump had some very good, strong qualities about Russia and China, and I liked his idea about smaller government, and the stock market went really high. I'm not talking about this. I want to talk about some other things that I didn't quite like about him. They'll give you the time of day. It's when somebody feels that you aren't giving them any sort of
wiggle room.
Yeah. That's,
how do you, for men, how do you were talking earlier about, you know, women, the joke with the women and all. Well, as a woman, how can you become more appealing by being humorous to a male?
By being, wait, what was that?
How do you become more humorous, attractive in humor, via humor to
well, that's easy.
From another woman, don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Attractive women have a bonus of they can just, you know, they can kind of make fun of their looks. People will go with it. But generally, guys don't, how can I say this? Guys love funny. Guys are just like women. I'm sorry. Everyone's the same. Everyone likes funny. Everyone likes confident. People recognize when you're trying to overplay, and people don't like when you're obviously not engaged with them. The easiest way to do it is interest. Not to make this like a dating thing, but if you want, I was pretty good back when I was single. I was pretty smooth. Believe it or not, and I'm goofy too. I'm a goofy person. The easiest thing to do is to be interested. Not to be interesting, to be interested. If you could find something that you're actually fascinated about, that's the key. People love attention. They love it. People love it.
Wait a minute. Find something you're interested about and then joke about it with him?
No,
yeah.
I'm saying if you just want to connect with them and be more attractive, it's just be interested in what they're interested in. If you can do that, it doesn't matter. And by the way, you don't have to know anything about it. A lot of times people will get nervous talking to an expert of something like I don't want to talk to a doctor about doctory things because I don't know anything about being a doctor. Doesn't matter. You just tell them, hey, yeah, you just go, hey, I don't know much about this. If you don't know, tell people you don't know. If whatever you're feeling, if you express it, that vulnerability will connect you to that person. And then people find people funny once they're connected and paying attention. It's like when you don't care about somebody and you have no emotional connection at all, or you have no intellectual curiosity, then you won't laugh. I'll give you a good example. I fear this sounds racist, but I have to stick with it. I don't find George Lopez funny at all. I think he is a great comic.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think he's a great comic. He writes great jokes. I don't find them funny because I don't have any of that experience. Now, if I somehow found something that connected me, I would then be able to link it in. But that's generally, if you want to, that's by the way why I suggest you do compliments rather than self-deprecation. Because complimenting a choice, like, hey, I like this thing that you did. I like something you're wearing. I like the choice of whatever. That will make that connection happen. Then in the real world, not on stage, but in the real world, the other trick is to make them talk. There is nothing a guy likes more or a woman likes more than to talk about
Yeah, how do you get
himself.
them? Okay, yeah.
So
What, by
ask-
asking questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Go, how was your day? And then they're going to say something, and it is just, you know, if they complain, acknowledge it, and then ask them a question about it. Something that shows that you were listening, and then just do a lot of this. Okay, because that's all people want. People want to be heard, and they want some sort of validation of their feelings. That's what
Can I
everyone's
say
really
one
looking
thing? You left me hanging at the why women have to sleep with on first date.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm like, I've been waiting for the punchline.
for. All right, here's the joke. The joke
I'm
is
sorry.
Right.
I'm like, come on, where's the punchline?
there's not a joke. That's just my point of view. All right,
Oh, and that's the punchline.
Well, actually, yeah. So there I go. So they sleep with them on a date on the first day on the latest, and then I go, here's why. Until you sleep with a guy, you're not meeting the guy. You're meeting what that guy thinks you need him to be, so that you'll sleep with him. That is
Yeah.
so I tell him you're not meeting the guy. You're meeting the lie. You're meeting the thing. And here's the thing: the longer you make a guy wait, especially if it's out of his character, the more false he becomes, and it becomes heavy.
No.
And that's why if you ever see a guy, he sleeps with you and then he's gone, just the next day you can't reach him, it's because he can't lie to himself anymore. And the reason he was doing it is gone. So
Wait a minute. Back up.
How did
I
we get
was
from
following you until you lost me there and around the corner. Go back if you
I know
don't mind.
women don't seem to know this about men. Here's something
No, I
interesting about
don't.
men. There's
I
men
wish
here.
I knew all this when I was single.
Now start cheating.
Ah,
there you go.
you was using your joke
By the
earlier.
way, don't cheat. You shouldn't. Well, I'll show you how to cheat later, but don't cheat.
Oh my God.
That's my whole set's about sleep with them on the first date. Cheating is good. Lying is good. We should smoke
Wait a
cigarettes.
minute, wait a minute. Go back to what you were saying. You lost. Yeah.
Okay, so where did I lose you?
Therapy session.
Oh, the first date. Okay, so the reason you sleep with them on the first date at the latest is because you're not meeting the guy until
the
until
latest.
you're meeting.
If you do it before the first date, it's called rape, isn't it?
Well, no.
No, you said that
consent-
basically after you made them wait and then they don't call you or something. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'll show you. So if you make someone wait, like if you're leading them on, and the guy's here, he just wants to sleep with you. He doesn't love you. Oh, that's the other thing. Here's what women don't know. And I figure I used to tell this on stage when I tell this as a joke, but men do. The feeling of I love you, that beginning feeling of like, oh my God, I just she is the one, is the same feeling of I want to fuck her. It's the same feeling. It's like your dick.
There's
and
some
your heart-
truth in that.
No, it's absolutely true. Your dick and your heart have
Wait a
the
minute, you
same
talking about
voice.
for men? For men, right?
For men, not for women. I won't even
The-
begin to guess at women's anything.
It's
Like,
not that far off.
It's a different
It's not that far off.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I don't know.
Men,
No, I can't think this.
Really,
There's
be honest. You have met a guy totally hot, and you're like, "Oh, I just want to get to know you." No, fuck you. You know what you want to.
There is no. So, but when you said love, though, the feeling of love. So I have to think about. There's been times where it's just that, and that's all it is, and it's not love. And then
Well-
there's been the others where it was definitely love. So
So
that's why
that feeling of like, oh, I just want to sleep with this hot guy. That feeling, is it the same as like, wow, I'm really interested and he is the one? Like, is it the same feeling or is it
No.
different?
For me, it is.
No.
Your dick and your
No.
heart sound the same. And so
Mm-mm.
until
I
the
can
guy
separate them.
the point you'll take is, until the guy has sex, his penis is lying to him, and he'll put every red flag, everything about you that doesn't really jibe with his worldview, he'll just knock it away. But then when it's gone, then that's all it floods in, and then he's like, I can't do it. That's why generally guys disappear, because they were too cowardly to say up front what they wanted, and they couldn't bear to lie anymore to themselves. So I tell women to sleep with the guy on the first date, because
Or don't do it at all. Guys, I'm like,
good luck dying alone, I guess. I mean, if you
yeah. I'm just,
but until you do, you don't meet anyone. So it's like, that's why like, don't put yourself in a situation where you're a victim, but just go out with people that you want to sleep on the first date. And the joke of that, or when he gets off stage or something like that, they go, "Aha, you're hungry."
Wait a minute, don't you run a risk if you do that initially like that? They were already trying to get in anyway. So what? You don't get a few months of dinners or whatever else? Or
That's absolutely. You know what? I've never taken that thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah.
If it's worth it to string a guy along for a bunch of dinners, then yes. It's
Is
just
it
more like,
really?
but that's well, it's very transactional at that point. He's just trying to sleep
it's
with her.
all
He's
transactional.
just trying to get dinner from him. It's like whoever gives it up loses, I guess. So he gives dinner. You know, he's like, you won that round. You sleep with him, you lost the game. So I guess.
Now, how do you ask a guy that in comedian terms?
How do you?
In a
How do you?
comedian phrase.
You're
Wait, how
doing
do
it
you-
right now.
How do you tell a guy, "Hi, I have no interest in you. I just want you to take me out to dinner"?
No.
I guess
I
you don't.
absolutely
You
don't
just
think
lie
it.
and pretend like you want to sleep with them. I guess that would be the trick.
Yeah. No. That's just it. How do you say that in a comical way? I just want to sleep with you.
You just like that. That's pretty much exactly like that. It
That's not
depends.
funny.
That if you wanted to say like, if you're a woman and you just want to express the point of view, if I
Yeah.
just want to sleep with you, then you just start with a 1,000 different ways. You can talk about women, what people think of women, and then misdirect them. Here's a good example for misdirection. If you know thing is, I just want to sleep with him, right? That's where you're going. That's where you'll end up.
Mhm.
You want to take them as far away from that as possible
Mhm.
with your tone of voice. So if your tone of voice, like, I just want to sleep with them, very like, you're practical. It's kind of like, I don't know, how would you describe that tone of voice? Very like real, very like, let's knock the bullshit away. This is what I want.
Forward.
Like, it's very like that. You want to take them as far away from that tone as possible. And the easiest way to do it is to talk about like the lofty idea of women. Like, men think women just want to meet someone and get to know them and and you want to talk ponder. You can just do whatever to make us, to put us in that mood, that tone of, you lull us with your tone. And then you would decide, fuck that, I just want to get laid. Or you don't have to say fuck that. If you want to stay clean, you can do whatever. But it's going to be the abrupt shift.
Okay.
You set a tone of one thing. Like as Billy Crystal calls it, you walk them down a flowery path and then you hit them with a hammer. So
Can I make a mention of one that I did that
yeah,
actually
absolutely.
did work out? I was at a party, saw a guy that was really hot, and I walked up to him. He had he was a teacher, had all these guys around him, all his students, and I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, can I say this?" And he said, "Sure." And I said, "You're the best looking thing at this party. I thought you need to know that." And he turned to his student and said, "Clear the room."
Yeah, that's like,
and that's how I got.
that's what everybody wants. At the end of the day,
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're with your girlfriend, maybe not. Maybe not
A little
then.
sticky.
But I don't think there's anyone, male or female, on the planet who, if it weren't in a weird position, like where like they could be embarrassed for someone overhearing it, would not be flattered by that. Unless, of course, they viewed you as a threat and they felt scared. That's different. You can't,
Yeah.
but that's more men have to worry about that. Women have to worry about being victimized. Men have to worry about coming across creepy. Neither one's pleasant. Obviously, women have it a little bit worse than men, but I'm a guy, so men. I give it a little validity.
Yeah.
And so you said, so the easiest way to do it, if you know where you want to go,
Mhm.
then
Now, what
you
if it's
just
the opposite? So that's the one route. What about the love route?
the love. What do you mean the love route? Like,
In
how
a
do you tell them you want to love them?
No.
You're asking a guy, why are you doing this?
Because he's a guy. I don't
sleep
want to
with
ask a woman. I would rather ask
And
a
by the
guy.
way, that is very offensive.
These
Men are
Comics aren't good
very.
at relationships. He's good at jokes.
Oh,
He's-
man.
he's like,
That's why we're so good at talking about it, because we had so many relationships to analyze. That's why
I don't
every.
think in a comedic or in a comedic.
She's in the wrong Zoom class.
I probably am.
What are you looking for? Like, are you looking to honestly connect, or are you looking to?
I'm talking about but I'm talking
Are
about
you looking for a
humor.
man?
Hold on. I can only be wet talk one place at once. So I'm saying that if you're trying to connect with that person on a humorous level, though, and
Now, what
in
do you-
that way,
So you mean
how do you be funny?
Okay, so I think I know. Are you talking about like how like when you meet someone, you want them to find you funny, like you're the funny person? All right.
Yeah.
I used to have a trick to do that. All right, so this is how I used to meet women at bars. I would go to bars, and if it was a club, I would go to club, and when they're dancing, I'd go up to them and I go, "I like that move. Show me how you do this." And then they'd laugh at me, and then they'd teach me,
Yeah.
and that's how I got to know every woman at a club. That always works.
That's good.
But when I wanted, it's also I wanted to learn how to dance. So it's kind of nice, lady. At a bar, this works, and this will work for anything. It's what will bring two people closer together is to find a common enemy, for lack of a better term. We become we when there's them over there. So if you have somebody that you see and you just if someone's doing something stupid, someone looks stupid, something about somebody else, inspires in you a feeling of either revulsion, disgust, annoyance, or a positive thing like, oh, that's awesome, whatever. But a feeling. Tell that person that thing that you thought. That's how the thing that makes you laugh out loud, tell it to somebody else about someone. So essentially what I'm saying is make fun of something that you both can see. That is how you can make someone find you funny. The trick to do it if you don't like talking to people and you're nervous about it, and this also works, and this is because when I was younger, I was very bad at talking to women. You make the joke to be overheard. Meaning you could be talking to your friend right here, but if the person you want to talk to is like right here, you say whatever you're saying so that this person hears it. That's your real audience. That person will give you some sort of acknowledgement, then you turn in and talk to them. That works if you're too shy to just go up to somebody. If you go,
That's a classic technique.
Is it?
Yeah, that's a classic technique. Yeah.
How
do you so I said something that potentially offended several people just a moment ago.
Okay.
And so how can I take that and run with that and actually have some fun with that
So
and
what was
get
it exactly that you
people
said?
Oh, when I mentioned Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. So
yeah, and I potentially I heard some people go, and I said, okay, wow, okay, how can I bail out of this and now
oh, you mean you're on
turn that around? Yeah.
Okay. So when they go, that means okay, there's two times when they go or oh. Okay. And both are the same. It's that you've lost they don't feel you have the authority to tell that joke yet. That's generally the only time people become offended when you don't have you're not the person to tell it. Now, anybody can tell any joke. You just have you have to earn it with pain. That's generally what I tell people. If you're not traditionally the person who should talk about whatever it is you're talking about, you have got to come correct with why you're the person. So if you're going to say something that's like a little bit, if you're going to talk about Trump to Republicans, you better have a reason why you're allowed to talk about it. And
okay,
you can have different ways. You can do it with you can do it through acknowledging their point of view. Like, hey, I know what you're going to think, that. And then they'll be like, all right, I've been heard. I'll let the person hear it. Or you could be like, Trump punched my mom in the face, something like that. And then you're like, I hate Trump.
No, you know who you're making me think of? Bill Burr is a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Because he actually has a black wife.
Yeah,
and so he can do a lot of humor in ways that a lot of white comedians don't do because they don't have that experience.
Bill Burr,
they don't have that experience. Yeah.
He's perfect to he'll do
Bill
multiple
Burr?
different things. Bill
Yeah.
Burr.
Oh God. Yeah.
Bill Burr, if you don't know who Bill Burr is, he is one of the best.
He is one of the
watching.
funniest comedians out there. Oh yeah. One of the
Really?
best.
Okay.
By the way,
Just
if you
YouTube him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he may offend you. There's no lie about it. And he'll walk a line, but he's really good.
Absolutely. And so what he does, essentially what he'll do is you have to got to know coming in if whatever you're saying is going to get offense. And then you have to know, so if you know they're going to become offended, you have one of two choices. I should have said it this way. You have one of two choices. You could either diffuse it first and then talk about it, or you can talk about it and then believe your point of view more than they believe theirs. Like if I was like women, you should sleep with sleep with the guy on the first date. I know most women are going to be like, that's probably, I don't agree, but they're not going to be 100% on it. And I say it like an absolute dead on fact. And then I keep going like I'm absolutely right. And you can flip anybody.
That's true.
If you believe it more than they don't, they'll go with you. That's how you can make anybody follow anything. That's why cult leaders exist. If you believe it more than they don't believe it, they'll go with you.
That's terrible.
Also, if the other thing about it is that Scientologists have this. It's actually a good. My girlfriend hates Scientologists. Hates them intensely. I love them now. I love them. Love them.
Why?
Because
Why?
my girlfriend hates them, and I just setting her off. It's worth every fight. It's worth it all. But in my quest for annoying my girlfriend, I did learn some interesting things about the Scientologists, and they have one thing that applies very well to comedy. and it's the idea of something called the stable datum. And essentially, it's
Oh.
this: there are things that people have that they use to justify their beliefs. So, for instance, if a woman like doesn't think she should sleep with you on the first date, she has reasons.
Yep.
Those reasons are her stable datum. They're the things that she believes. If you knock those things out, that person will believe you. That's how
Mhm.
you can change minds. It's a
Oh,
it's a
wow.
it's a torture technique also. So if you ever need to interrogate people or become a Scientologist, either one,
Or a comedian.
yeah. But it's always always
I mean, comedy
You
and
can't-
torturing people really aren't that far apart.
yeah. It's
That's true.
bad comedy is exactly the same. Well, I mean, give or take a little bit of difference. But even I would not have been surprised if they heard they put open mic comics and they played them into Iraq when we were at war with them. That sounds all right. They played heavy metal. It's like, all right.
Or Vogon poetry. Remember that?
So you have to if those things you acknowledge before you talk about the joke, that'll diffuse it. Or if you want to mention the joke and then you have to just believe it more than they don't believe it. That's how you
Okay.
have to do it. And you
Okay.
cannot sound like you're kidding. You have to believe it.
You probably have to back yourself up pretty well too, though. I mean, like really know how to back yourself up. Because I think that's what Bill Burr does. I mean, he has a point of view and then he really backs it up. If somebody complains at all, he's right at you.
That's actually part
That's
and
how I
parcel of
am in life, so
surprise.
I have to really look this guy up. I've heard that about me as well. So
Well, Dave Chappelle does the same thing too. I mean,
Yeah.
and it goes back to what you were saying before about confidence, is
Mhm.
that know where you are,
Yeah, know your stuff.
and be able to know yourself, and even if you're gonna tell a lie, boom, just
Oh,
be
yeah,
be that lie,
absolutely.
be
Well,
the lie.
By the way, here's how you this is another thing I talk about on stage, but this is a good example of this. I say here, I can tell you all how to have a relationship that works, a long relationship, and I'm right. None of this. I'm kidding. And as I'm telling this joke, I'm not kidding here. I actually have the answer. I actually do share it. It's why I do very well on stage. And this is why relationships end, because you wait too long to lie. You see, here is something that men don't know about women. Women don't pay attention to what you're saying. It does not matter what you're saying. It's a bonus. It's a plus. If what you're saying
you
is
just sit
stupid,
here and then you just
fine.
wah, wah, wah.
But every guy in here has been into an argument with a woman and been right on the facts and still lost that argument.
Correct.
I did that last night.
And here is why. It's because it didn't. The facts didn't matter. Here is. They
I
just didn't.
feel that way.
What mattered was your tone of voice. Bill Burr, I think, actually, is the comic who talks about it, and he says, and it's truthful. When women are right on the facts, they'll care about the facts. When women are wrong on the facts, they care about how you said it. And it's generally it's about people. Is why are you being a dick?
It's really
like,
true.
Oh God, you're
So
It's really true.
the idea that
you
is,
just gave me flashbacks to my parents arguing.
oh, dude, you did. My parents divorced twice. I look at
They got
parents
remarried to each other.
again. Yeah, and you would think, did they stop fighting? No, they fought more and more and more until the day my dad died. They fought nonstop. The day after my dad died, he was that angel. Your father was an angel. I just remember hearing, like, Dad was it? That asshole who lost all of our family's money. That guy. How could you, Matthew? Your father was an angel. I was like, all right.
So what's the secret to the long relationship?
What was that?
Lie a long time.
Oh yeah, sorry. So here's something that I don't think men know about women, but it's in the beginning of a relationship. Have you ever wondered why women are always interested in everything that you're interested in? Have you ever wondered about that? Like, no matter what, she wants to learn about it. Like, oh, I do this for fun. Oh, you play Dungeons and Dragons? Oh, I don't do that, but I want to know everything about it. And you're like, oh, this is great. And she asks you about your day and the things that bring you joy and what you like. And you're just like, yeah.
Makes you
blah,
feel
blah, blah, blah.
safe.
Yeah, and you feel heard, you get vulnerable, and you're blah, 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 and you're thinking, oh, she's into me. She really is into me. No, she's not. She's
You're
just
right.
calibrating. She's just calibrating her brain to hear how you sound when you're authentically happy. And then that's also that's why women will also later on they'll go, "What's wrong, babe? What's wrong? You seem upset. What's wrong?" And you'll be, "Oh, this guy works a dick, and I don't understand this, and this isn't going right, and blah blah blah." and she's just like calibrating, tick 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 click. Now here's the thing. That's the worst. The worst moment of a relationship is when a man gets a woman to bring him a sandwich before he knew he needed a sandwich. Like that's when a woman's like, "Oh, I better get him a sandwich because he's cranky and hungry."
He's hungry.
The relationship's over because she knows you better than you know yourself.
The relationship is over.
Yeah, because here's the thing about women. Then women, when they're no longer fascinated by the guy, then they start fixing him. That's one thing. Because women will. There's an old saying. It's men marry women thinking they'll never change. Women marry men planning on changing him. It's very truthful. It's why in a relationship the guy will be like, "You've changed. Things are different." And it's why a woman will be like, "God, this loser's never getting any better." Women see the potential in you. Men just see your skin.
Yeah.
So, well, here's why that's a problem. Because in the beginning, when you're all faking that interest and pretending to be into the things he's into, he's like a duck. Like he is being programmed like a baby duck into thinking that that's who you are. Oh, she's into Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, she likes my friends. Oh, she has no problem with my messy apartment. Oh, she thinks my job's fine and I'm just gonna get one eventually. She
thinks I actually am doing laundry
that
the right
you
way.
said just because you were just into him, he thinks is real. And then all the negative things. And then here's something I noticed. Once the mystery of the man has gone away and she can predict, then she notices, oh, his place is kind of messy. Oh, his friends are kind of losers. Oh, his clothing is embarrassing. And he wears
says the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard in my
and
life.
He says things that I
shorts
don't
in
approve of.
winter.
And he does make me, and then all the things that their friends say about you. Oh, he's this and that. Suddenly they're not blinded by it. And what happens at that point? To a man, you've changed. And so what happens? He either starts hanging out with somebody else, and then that's when he decides to lie. When he does something stupid. When he's somewhere he shouldn't be. When he doesn't hang out when he should hang out. When he does something out of some sort of ease. Because then he lies. And every man lies the same way.
Wait, how's that?
They lie the way that they make a lie.
Stop giving out our secrets.
I know, right?
Oh, I don't mind. We've got
Somebody's
secrets
got 'em.
too.
They lie based
You
on,
start spilling the beans.
Now
the way
he's
that
on
men
the women's
lie.
side too.
It's temporally and factually. Men tell lies that they couldn't solve. That's how men think of lies. They go, I'm going to tell a lie that I would get away with if I were trying to check on this lie. So they come up with like backup facts. I was with this guy, not with her.
Oh,
I was at
okay.
this place. They go, because that's how they think. They think that way factually. They think that, and here's how
How do women lie, in your opinion? I'm curious now.
women lie with their attention. But here's how women catch the lie, by the way. This is something else that I don't know if men know. It's because when you say your lie, do you know what the one thing men don't think about is? The tone of voice that they actually have when they're authentically happy. Their tone of voice when they're authentically late for someplace. Their tone of voice when they're actually meant to be someplace, but they couldn't be there, but they wished they would, but their responsibilities forced them not to be.
It is something.
Women have been paying attention to the tone of voice.
Yeah.
They'll recognize it.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll go like, they'll notice it. And then suddenly facts start getting asked, and then the other thing women will do, this is a joke, but I actually kind of believe it. Men have a lie memory of 3 days. For 3 days.
That's true.
You could wake us up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, buddy. Well,
Women
you
have
said
a lie.
this.
Women have a lie memory of like 20, 30 years.
Oh, God.
And the thing is that I've fallen victim to this myself. A woman will casually mention that thing that you lied about as like a side fact, like, oh, Buca di Beppo, that was that Italian restaurant where you went with Steve, right? And you don't remember that you lied about it. You're like, what?
Mhm.
And then she's like, exactly, gotcha. What else have you been lying about?
Yeah.
So the joke is then if you want to lie to women, you have got to lie to them from the very first second you meet them to the day the two of you die.
That is
because then they'll
true.
never figure you out and you'll be mysterious. So all that's true, but so
Like a moving target.
Yeah, but it works the other way too. Like women do lie to men. I've done my lies, and it's just what happened. How does the guy figure the woman out? I've had guys say, "No, I don't remember you saying that. You said that." I have a guy who's doing that now. He's like, you said that on this day, this day. I'm like, oh,
Well, yeah, because
I sure did.
I'm being accused of something. I don't even remember. I
Well, yeah,
wasn't even.
'cause
I don't know what happened, but
well, guys will notice the facts. So like you can't you don't have that luxury because you can't you have to you got to be right on the facts. But if you're right on the facts, they're never going to hear from your tone of voice that you're lying. They'll never hear it.
oh, your
Because
facts changed.
because men will know, oh hey, that's not exactly right.
Yeah.
But men aren't going to hear from the tone of your voice like, wait a second, that's not how she sounds when she's like that, unless they've known you for so incredibly long. It's just because we don't pay attention. That's not something that we prioritize.
So I'm being busted for my lies by words, not by actual what I sounded
Yeah,
like.
your facts are wrong. It's
Oh,
just a bad
okay.
lie. You gotta, like-
That just means I need to have a tighter lie next time.
So
I came to learn comedy. I'm leaving with steady liar advice.
Well,
what is comedy if it is not applied lying?
it's a lie that gets a laugh. That's all the joke is.
Exactly.
Well,
And by the way, both require the same thing: truthfulness.
Mhm.
You know, they say it's funny because it's true does
Yeah.
not mean it's funny because the facts are true. It means it's the
Funny
point of
because it's
view
true.
Yes,
is
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
So just you
Yeah.
can talk about elves in Narnia or starships and aliens, as long as you emotionally have an
fairies.
experience with it,
Yeah.
you can people will connect. It's what makes science fiction work. Science fiction works because of the broad, deep emotional themes that people connect to. We think we connect to phasers and transporters, but we
But we
really
actually
connect to
don't.
race and violence and what is right and what is wrong. And if you look at the old Star Trek series, nothing will hit you on the head with message harder than that. It's amazing. Sorry.
So when you think about comedy, and just one last thing, and going with that, while you were saying that, I was thinking of the classic movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and
Yes.
it was like just putting people into this absurd world that at the same time is extremely believable
Mhm.
because all the rules apply in that world that never would. Am I correct on that? You know, so you have like exploding rabbits and
Well, here's my bias. I hate Monty Python so intensely.
I couldn't get into it.
Hold on. I have a reason for it.
I want to hear your reason.
In high school, I rode on a short bus because hold on. Let me finish this.
That's the punchline.
Yeah.
I went to a magnet program. I'm actually very smart. Thank you very much. I'm actually incredibly intelligent. Some people have called me a genius, and they were factually correct. But my bad luck, the people in this magnet program, we rode on the same bus that the special ed kids rode on.
Oh.
So one of the special ed kids loved Monty Python.
How much?
He just kept, we are the knights that go, nah, we are the knights that go, nah.
Okay, I get
Just
it now.
a lot. Now, that's not enough to be hated. It was that he also called me Big Bird, which I didn't like because I wore a yellow shirt the first day, and he was like, "You're Big Bird," and I'm like, "That's not even funny." Like, what are you? Oh, the knights that go, nah. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then on the first day of high school, swear to God, first day, I'm in the cafeteria, freshman, very scary. I live far away. And who comes into the cafeteria?
Oh,
the special
no.
ed kid. And he yells, hey, Big Bird!
Oh no, that did it.
And I'm like, no. And like everyone in the high school is like, well, that's your name for now on. Blip. And then now I
Congrats,
hate
your
Monty
name has no
Python
longer
intensely.
relevance. Is no longer relevant or exists.
What was that? The Monty Python? Thank God, you're right.
You had an experience that was just totally not pleasant.
Yeah, but because of that, it shades my thing into that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I don't like Monty Python.
I couldn't get into
Nothing
it.
to do with Monty Python. I know they're supposed to be funny. It's just I can't stop hearing that every time I think of Monty Python.
So you need to divorce that. And I'm the same
Yeah.
way with Phantom of the Opera. I had friends who played it so much that I wanted to go find him and kill him. You know, and I can't handle it. You know, so,
Anybody
yeah.
who
Be a
works
real
in, like-
phantom if you know what I mean.
I think anybody who works retail has probably heard a song on repeat that just probably like I want to kill everyone involved in that band.
Exactly.
Right, Carrie.
But now-
All I want for Christmas.
But now here's a good example though.
1999, and
Here's a
we
good
heard that song a million times. We're gonna party like
I think
it's
it's 19.
Oh, Prince.
Dude, I love Prince. He was great.
But I get it.
I discovered him after he died, which is embarrassing. But that's
No.
like I had heard of
Okay.
him. But I didn't realize how good he was until after he died. And I saw some videos like, this guy's like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. He's a
He
phenomenal.
was brilliant. Very
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely
Uh-huh.
just a genius in every sense of the term. Like, he created. But anyway, so think about like when you said Monty Python, like you thought Monty Python, you're like, no one could dislike Monty Python. They're so funny.
But people can.
People can. And that's the thing. That's what you can't take for granted. You can't take for granted your audience's life experience. So whenever you're expressing a point of view, you got to make sure, again, like someone else said, you got to have something behind it, because you got to be, first of all, aware of anything that they're going to use that's going to pop up like knee jerk. But then you also have to be able to have a reason for why that your reason is more intensely right than theirs is wrong. Because if you don't, you'll lose that authority. But if you do, you will win over those people harder than anyone else. It's the people who disliked you in the beginning will be the ones who like you the most at the end. So one of the tricks to building rapport with an audience after you've already complimented them and as a group or something is to challenge them. One of the most important things, if you want to really have a group go from like, I think he's funny to like, I want to follow Matt, is to challenge your audience. You can't just say things that they like. They won't connect as much. You have to also be able to say something that they don't agree with, but then win them over. I learned that trick from this comic, Jeff Garcia, who's phenomenal. And it's truth everywhere. Look at Bill Burr. It's a good example. Look at pretty much any comic. Even no matter how much, at some point they're going to say something that the audience doesn't go with. And it's usually those jokes are what we connect to the most. It's what will reinvigorate. If you're doing an hour of comedy, you need to be able to constantly you need to get them to keep focusing their attention. That means you have to give them different stimulus. And one of the best ones to do is to challenge them. To say something somebody doesn't agree with is one of the best ways to engage them that you can do. Because people will not let something they don't agree with go by. Like if you say something like, I think women should just stay in the kitchen and I don't think they should be paid money. I mean, they can get paid in blowing me. How about that? They're like, what? Versus if you're just like, I think women are great and women should be paid equally. But people, if you say something they don't agree with, you'll hook attention. It's risky because then, they don't agree with you. But if you have something for it, it's dynamite. Chris Rock used to call those jokes dynamite, TNT jokes, because it's risky. But if it works, it could blow up. But if it works, it's amazing.
So you've just given the reason why most people don't like liberals and we're called snowflakes, because we're too nice. We're always so nice. Oh my God. We need.
You always need to be able to
Republicans
insult
don't
someone.
like liberals because of the fact that they live in fantasy land where money has no real value and they don't.
You do live in LA. You must admit it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
me.
I live.
I think I don't know. So it's like they have this feeling about one thing, and we come across frivolous, and then Democrats don't like Republicans because they're all racist. Every single one of them, without exception. Anyone who votes Republican, they might not be. That's not fair. They might not be racist, but they're fine with it. They're fine with their that's right there. It's very biased on my side. But it's both. Here's the problem: is that no one talks to the other side. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. You used to be able to talk about politics to people, and then Trump came along and he made it difficult. It's not impossible, but it's difficult. You have to be.
I'm just going to say this at large before you go on to, I disagree with you on that. I don't think it was Trump. I think it was Barack Obama. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of what he looked like, just what he looked like. People all of a sudden said, oh, I want to insult him because he's black, but I can't do that. So how am I going to get away with that? And it just became weird during that 8-year period.
I don't think exactly that, but I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. My girlfriend agrees with you also. She was the one who clued me on that. It's the fact that for the first time when Barack Obama appeared, a group of people didn't have a voice. They felt disenfranchised. That was white people. White people were like, this is not my guy.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was new.
Certain
and so what
white
happens?
people.
Certain white people. Absolutely. Not all white people. Certain white people. And those white people got together, and then it got a perfect storm with Facebook. Like I used to be fine with Facebook, except it's really, they just fed the people who are on the fence. They fed them the same thing they needed to hear. And essentially it festered a wound.
Exactly.
Now, then Trump just took it and weaponized it.
No, just took it to spades, man. I mean,
So
I
the
watched my
trick,
friends turn themselves into
yeah,
pretzel knots for 8 years. They would say, I want to criticize him, but I'm not sure if I can because you might, you might go and start like, a civil rights movement or something like that.
what?
And I was just like, no, just go ahead and say what you feel. So it was really hard for 8
Well,
years.
that's risky to ask someone to let them know. Just say what
Yeah.
you feel. It's like, are you sure?
Are you
Yeah.
sure?
What I'm thinking,
You
what I'm
really wanna
thinking
know?
will get me fired. That's why I want to not say that. And that's by the way another reason people don't like Democrats is that they will get you fired.
They
Like,
will.
Republicans will kill you. Democrats will take your job. It's a simple math.
It's
A
hard to tell which
Republican,
is worse,
a
honestly.
Republican will put you in bondage. A Democrat will make sure that no one ever buys anything from your store.
Was it
And
Richard Pryor said at one time when his wife was divorcing him, I'm going to take everything you have, even your dreams. So that's what the Democrats do.
that's great. So, but here's the thing: like the job is to figure out how to connect to them. Because if you can figure out how to connect to the people who don't believe what you believe, that's that's to me that's everything. By the way, my belief about why we have laughter, I believe its biological function or one of its societal functions is it allows you to change someone's mind. Because what you can do with comedy that you cannot do with being literal is you can challenge somebody. Because if I go to a Republican, I don't think Trump's that great. They're going to go, yeah, defenses head on. They're going to engage it. But if I say something ridiculous, they're going to know not to put their ego involved because they're going to know I'm kidding, but they'll still hear the idea and that plants a seed. All you need
Trump,
to do.
Trump punched my mother and then destroyed our car.
I used to do. The way I would do it was I would go, I like Trump, and people go, I go, hold on, and this is true, but this is part true. Trump looks just like my father who died last year. That's what I tell people, and it immediately no one gets mad at that because everyone's like, oh shit, all right, looks like your dad. Okay, yeah, okay, get.
But then they don't think that through.
Yeah, they get mad, but they don't get mad. They're like, okay, and that is like a plausible reason. So now the Democrats will let me say whatever I want to say, and both sides think I'm on their side. It gives it just enough that they'll hear it. The material that will connect the best is knee-jerk reaction material.
Mm-hmm.
Material that is the hardest to tell is knee-jerk reaction material because people won't let you. The same thing that makes it so intimate and personal is going to lead people to want to interrupt you. So pick the thing that you want to talk about that's going to juice the most people, and then find the way to say it that gives you permission to say it. And the easiest ones to do it are to say, to me, that's one way, or to give their point of view something, but only as much as you need. Here's the other part about jokes that's important. There's like an order to what you actually need in a joke. Don't go past it. Meaning the bare minimum thing you need for a joke is a punchline. That's the bare minimum. Those are called one-liners. They're one line long. If you don't need a setup, don't add a setup. If you can just say it in one sentence, don't give a premise, don't do anything else, just say it. Don't try to add to the joke to just make it something for you, just say it. I don't even have any one-liners. But any one-liner you've ever heard of would be a good example. Now, if the thing that made you laugh needs some sort of explanation to the audience so that they'll understand what the hell it is you're talking about, add the setup. The setup is just that thing that occurred that led to you thinking that funny thought. That's your punchline. If that's all you need for a joke to work, don't add anything else. Just say those two sentences. This thing, that thing. Like, I'm trying to think what I had. Oh yeah, I gotta do it when I go, hey everybody, my grandfather's 100% cancer free. They clap and I go, he's dead. That's the whole thing. Boom, boom. They only needed to hear my grandfather's 100% cancer free. They clap, he's dead. The end. They didn't need any more information. They didn't need to know what my belief was about it. They didn't need to know, well, isn't family crazy? Give them the least amount possible. If, however, they need to have a certain mood set, then you have to add a premise. And the premise's job is just get them to see whatever it is the way that you see it. They don't have to agree with you. They just have to see it how you see it. And the way that you do that is all tone of voice. It's all tone of voice.
What do you
Okay.
mean? Sorry.
Meaning you can't be like, I really like that guy. That guy, I really like that thing I saw, or I like that. That's nice. No one will believe that. You actually have to express it. It's the expression of the emotion that people will connect to. All right, I'm gonna need to wrap this up. I'm actually late. I was gonna do it. I have a VIP joke clinic that will start 5 minutes after this ends.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, but okay, that one I'm gonna go. I'll show everyone how to do it. But I'm gonna do this top down.
To sign up for that,
review.
I tried to, FYI, and I had some issues. I think it was more technical network issues. Is there a way
yeah.
to still sign up for the VIP? Huh?
No, I wish there is. I wish there is. But no, not right now.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Sorry.
Are there any times for any questions or anything like that?
Yes, but now is not that time.
Okay.
Peace.
Okay. Well, no. All right. So let me just wrap. Let me do one full explanation, and then ask any questions, and then the VIPs we will do the joke clinic where I'll just show you how to write. I know it's late, so if anyone is too tired who's a VIP, I'll just come up. We'll schedule a time to do it later. I'll make sure everyone is. I'll make
I
good
can
with
pay
everybody.
later and do it later myself.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That totally does make sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Are you
Totally.
quick
Okay.
question. Are you
Yes.
going to do this again at some point in the
Yeah.
near future?
Then I love
Because
doing these.
I wanted to pay you, but I was like broke. So and I wanted to do the VIP, and actually I have to get ready to go, but it's just like I'd love to get back into this again. So
The next one I'm doing, next workshop I'm doing is on what is Friday? It's Friday. It's on Friday.
19th.
And what was it? The 19th?
Mhm.
19th.
okay,
if
you
you
can
go
get
to-
in on that.
If you go to February 19th.laughclass.org, you can
Okay.
sign up there.
February 19th.
All right, I'll be happy to do that. Nice talking to you.
Absolutely.
I
yeah.
enjoyed talking to everybody.
I know it's getting late to everybody. So any VIP person, by the way, I'll make good on it. If it's too late for you now, I totally will.
Sleep is for the weak. I will persist.
That is the right way to be. I agree with that completely. I mean, I don't have to get anywhere to get up early. Also, if I had to get up early, I would disagree probably.
Oh, you're your own boss right now, or your own employee, right? So, I was gonna say,
Comedy's on pause right
basically,
now. I get to sleep.
Yeah.
early.
So how can you how can I? What information do you need from me so you can bill me later, and so I can do the joke clinic
Oh,
later?
Just if you go to Feb 19th, if you go to that website, February 19th.
Oh, just go to February 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you can do
Is it spelled out FEB or is it
FEB19.
okay?
Laugh class. Here's the secret. For all these workshops I do, I just put the month and the number as the subdomain.
That's
So
good.
if you ever want to know if I'm doing a workshop on that day, just plug it into the thing and you can find out. Or you
And then
can
how do
ask
we
me.
get this recording?
Well, I will finish it, and then I guess I get a copy on my computer. I'll share it. If you guys
Yeah,
want.
that'd be great.
I'll send an
Okay,
email to
I'll-
everybody so everyone can have a copy. of
Yeah.
it.
Do you have all of our emails then?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have all of our emails?
Yeah, because you guys got an email,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I did.
Can I post mine now to you, and I can maybe show you how to put that on Google Photos, because you can't email a 700 meg file. You know what I mean?
No, I would have to share it probably like Mega Share, whatever it's called. There's one of those file sites with like a URL.
Compressor.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you can do that where like they download. The other thing you can do is you can upload it to like Google Photos. It's unlimited and free.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
awesome.
That's a good
But,
idea.
That's
Yeah.
a great
I was
idea.
gonna ask- I thought
It'll help
Denise
your
was
SEO.
recording
Yeah.
this.
Well,
I was like-
I use Amazon Photos, so yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to send you a 700. It's bigger than that, by the way. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, that Zoom link didn't come through for the VIP class.
Yeah,
Did you get an
same.
email? Did you get a second email?
Yeah, it wasn't on there either.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Son of a.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just. Oh, I know how to do this. I'll just. Can I paste it into the? I'm gonna just paste it into this thing. And if you're not VIP, don't look at it. I guess. VIP, all right, here we go.
Cheat you out of $10.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
not
there
just
you
that.
are.
It's more to people who paid. I don't want them to feel cheated. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm made of money. I don't care about money, but I don't want everyone else to feel in any way, shape, or form like so.
I spent
were
my
veterans-
mortgage on this.
So here we go.
Small
This
house.
one, that should be it. Good. Oh, wait, I sent that to everyone in the waiting room. I really got to figure out how to do this. Oh, I just sent it to Jesse Peterson. Well, congratulations, Jesse. Let's see if I can do this. How do I? There's a son of a gun. Give me 1 second. I'll do it this way. Actually, as I'm doing this, I'm going to do a wrap up of everything. Here is all you need to know to start writing comedy efficiently. It's simply this. Whenever you laugh out loud, you wrote a joke. Okay, that's the best math to use. Whatever made you laugh, that sentence that you thought to yourself, record it. Pull out your phone and record it within 10 seconds. Record what just happened and the thought that made you laugh. That's all you'll need. If you do it within 10 seconds, you'll capture how to tell it correctly. Then give yourself a day. Let it sit for a day, and then go and listen to it again. And you'll know immediately if you still find it funny. If it's funny for the reasons you thought, you'll keep finding it funny and you'll be able to tell it. If it's crap, you'll be like, all right, no. The third way is also, you might go, I'm going to need to say something else for people to understand my point of view, like why I'm saying this. To do that, you just say, I think this is funny because, and then whatever that follows that is your premise. You must always get them to understand where you're coming from first. Once they see it the way that you see it, you can then present to them a specific example of it. So if you want to talk about Trump, you either need to talk about the concept you're talking about first, or you got to have a specific example and make Trump the premise. All right, now let me do this part so I can get you the link.
Oh, that's one more death. No, wait, he's still awake.
Still go. Oh, here we go. Did I mention I fired the people who were helping me?
I'm not supposed to apologize.
Thank you. Someone was listening. I don't follow my own advice, by the way. It's just the worst. Here we go. I also say I'm sorry to my girlfriend all the time, which you should never do. Except, unless you want to be happy. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm sending everybody an email who's a VIP. Yeah, that's good. Wait, you guys, it didn't come through in the second email either? I'm so sorry about that. That's incredibly annoying. Okay, hold on. Here we go.
I will talk with you on Friday. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry to get distracted at the end like this, but that'd be great.
No, you're fine. No,
I just have to make good on this.
That's right.
Figure out how to use a computer.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, I'm out. Thanks. This was fun.
Absolutely.
I'll see you in a bit, hopefully.
Well, here I got
Depends if I crash or not.
Message. Yeah, and then by the way, in the joke clinic, we're gonna create. I know it's late, so if anyone is too tired for it, again, I'll figure out a way to make good on it with you in a private something or other. Okay, here we go. And ticket holders VIP. This is the least fun thing I've done in my life right now. Just making people wait. Oh, I hate it. Okay, here we go. Here is the right link. The link. Sorry about that. Shouldn't apologize. If so, and I misspelled it to boot. This is great. And there we go. And send. Send now. Okay. If this has not gone through, I'll figure something out still. But it should go through. Tell me if you got it. And check spam. Check spam, by the way. Also check spam if you
got it.
Got it.
Let me see.
All right, thank God. You have no idea how. All right, so guys, we're gonna end this meeting. If you guys want to do another workshop, I'm tightening them up over time. Next one I'm doing is at 8:00 on Friday, and that's all. So now the joke clinic will be next. I'll see a few of you guys later. 5-minute break. 5-minute break, and then we'll do the workshop.
Thanks.
Right. Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.